Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0-Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0-Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 394. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate.
Ooh, man. We're dragging, for those who are unaware.
It's a little surreal that I saw you today. It feels like 3 days ago.
Like 12 hours ago, I think. I don't know. I have no idea. My clock is wrecked. I think I was there long enough for me to get used to Eastern time. I mean, it's 5 days. 4 days? 4.5 days, basically.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days.
Yeah. That's long enough to get used to it. My clock is all kinds of... Oof. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end of this Dodgers game.
Yeah, a little status update. We are, for the sake of time and just the fact that we are dragging a little bit and schedule, having this squeeze this pod in before tomorrow's games, give you guys enough time to listen. We are recording as this Dodgers D-backs game 2 is wrapping up. But yeah, dragging. It's been a week. It was great having you out here. I don't want that to be lost on any of this.
No, it's fun.
Just baseball wise.
Yeah.
Logistics wise, it was a little weird. You get in, I think we already kind of covered this in the last episode. You get in, we had the plan of going to game 3, Phillies, Marlins, if it had happened. You, as we talked about, you fly in that night. Phillies mop up the Marlins, so that's out.
Yep.
And then the rest of the week plays out.
Yeah, just sweeps for couldn't even watch baseball for 2 days.
Couldn't even watch baseball, so we had to get creative. Had a few MVP 05 contests.
Had enough. I've played enough for years.
We had the first lengthy one we had went 18 innings. The one after that went 17 innings. We split that. But yeah, we get to Camden Yards Saturday, excuse me. My days are all out of whack. Get there Saturday. It's raining. We park in a lot that's not too far from the park. And the gentleman and the lady, there's a team there kind of pointing people in the direction they need to go.
Rocking a lot of O's gear too. A lot of
O's gear.
Just head to toe.
They said, you guys can park here, $40 a pop, which was $110 less than the lot that we saw maybe
a block away.
Yeah. Didn't want to pay $150 to park. And they said, you gotta be out of here by 5 because there's a Billy Joel, Stevie Nicks concert here at the Ravens field. So we're like, all right, game time starts at 1. We'll be out of here in no time. No issue.
Think again.
We walk into the park. It's raining. The announcement shows up on the scoreboard. Game's been postponed an hour. We're like, all right, not ideal, but that's 3 hours. It's possible the game even ends before 3 hours, as we've seen throughout the year. Not the case. Had to leave in the 7th inning. You think the bad luck stops there. We're walking past the concert that's soon to be happening. And just for kicks, I checked the Ravens Twitter account, and it was like, we are aware of the rain delay that caused the Orioles Rangers game to be pushed back. So the shared lots will also be pushed back an hour. So turns out we didn't even need to leave, but you can't re-enter. So that was that. And then Sunday, we're like, all right, vibes are high. We're full-on O's fans today.
Yeah. And get spanked.
And then Mitch Garver decided he had other plans and they get spanked in game 2. So just a rough. Oh, and then last thing I'll say here. I mean, there was some other things, but just I think putting a bow on the whole 2 days. We're driving home, and we're like, all right, we got to stop for dinner. And it's 9:45, and I said, okay, everybody knows Chipotle closes at 10. Let's find the closest one. So I pull off. We're coming back home. We're on the highway. We pull off to one that I've been to a time or two before. I'm like, okay, I know where this one's at. Let's pop in here. We get there at
9:50.
9:50.
Yeah.
Both doors are closed. They're locked. One of the employees, which I think I'm going to put a review in about this.
I think you should.
One of the employees, you noticed, was loading up a burrito.
Yeah, for himself.
Just picking out all the toppings he wanted. And we're sitting there trying to open the door. And they're just ignoring us. So then we both knock on the glass. He looks back and gives me the whole like no go, like you can't see me right now if you're listening, but the whole like hand to the neck, like cutthroat, like no, we're closed. And I pointed back and I gave him the old 1-0.
I threw up the double
gesture.
fives.
Yeah, Nate throws up the double fives. I give him the old 1-0, and he goes, and then he walks over to the door and he goes, no, we're closing early because we're out of stuff.
Clearly
and
not,
boy,
dog. You're making a freaking double meat burrito, extra scoop guac, so I don't want to hear it.
Oh my goodness! So that was fun, but all that to say, it was great having you out here.
I think there's another one. The fact that freaking Zach Campbell caught a home run like 30 feet away from us because
Gunnar Henderson's first postseason home run.
We ventured down to Utah after the score got out of hand. And yeah, sure enough, freaking Zach Campbell.
Who else?
It's just a weird overall. Just a weird. You tried to get a Cal jersey. They didn't have larges. Just a strange series of events. We've had great luck on this pod for games.
We've had Just all across the board. We've had pretty good luck. We were due.
Can't complain too much. Yeah,
but it was a great time. It was a great time having you out here. We'll have to do it again sometime. Maybe under different circumstances. Maybe different teams involved. But
yeah. Well, if the Diamondbacks are in the World Series, you can come out here.
I make my way out there. Yeah. And at this rate, it's looking like that might be a realistic possibility. Which kind of starts me off here right off the top. The one thing that I wanted to comment on, and I think is a pretty easily observable phenomenon going on right now, is that the first round bye teams seem to be a little sluggish.
Yeah.
And like we've seen some good things here and there. Like, I mean, we'll get into the Braves Phillies, but like generally speaking, a little sluggish.
Specifically, like some star pitching has looked a little Everyone knows the Kershaw stuff yesterday or Saturday. You got who started game one for the O's? Man, my brain is not
Bradish.
working. Bradish didn't look so great. Grayson didn't look so great. Max Fried today didn't look so great. Bobby Miller looking kind of questionable.
Framber Valdez, 7 hits, 5 earned runs.
Like it's more than it's enough names to say that this is a trend. You know what I mean? This isn't a fluke. Like this is interesting to say the least, because like how much of an advantage is it outside of maybe the scenarios where you have maybe a couple guys getting over an injury or you know, a tweak or something like that to try and get healthy. But it is a significant disadvantage when it comes to starting pitching. And you're seeing it. I mean, the minority of names like Verlander and Strider, they look good. But outside of that, it was like, yikes, dude. This is ugly.
I don't know where I stand on it, because it didn't take me very long to start seeing the tweets rolling in from fans, and it's what you would expect. But the fans of these first round bye teams, Braves, Orioles, so on and so forth, talking about, we got to do away with the 3-game wild card. We have to do away with this excess time of these teams just sitting around cold. And I'm like, it's a valid point. I saw one tweet where it's talking about, these guys are geared to play every day, and when you get a week off, it's like, that's true. But also, where is this energy when fans of these teams are clamoring for rest or like needing a break because they've played 162? Like, you can't have it both ways. And then because if you do, it's okay, let's go back to the 1-game wild card. Okay. And then you have the fans of those teams talking about, well, how can you have a 162 season end in one day?
Game. Yeah. I mean, I like the 3-game, just for the record. I like the 3-game series. Definitely on board with that. On top of home field advantage, you know what I mean? Like, what do you want? What do you want? It is strange though. I think they said Fried hadn't pitched in 18 days. So I don't know, maybe have an idea of that beforehand. It's tough, dude. You could say the same offensively. Probably even more so offensively. It takes time to get in a groove. It takes time to see pitches, CABs, keep the timing going. Then you saw a lot of from both offenses, or a couple of these offenses where it's like, it's a slow start. You see guys that like ended the season on the IL and then have drifted into the starting lineup, and you're seeing them have a slow start. It's just, I don't know if there's a happy medium. I don't know if there's something you can do, because you got to have, like, it only makes sense to have a travel day, which this year was Monday when the season ended on a Sunday. And what are you going to do if it's only 2 games instead of 3? You can't just scoot the game up a day. Like, it's just, there's not much you can do. So I don't know what fans want. Just maybe your team should play better.
It's I mean, everybody comes at this with a different angle, and they think one way, you got other fans thinking another. It's like, the league has made it very clear that they've become okay with trying new things, with experimenting with different formats and rules and policies and procedures. It's like, if you want to see a change, now's the time to get it out there, because clearly the league is open to doing that. But we haven't even seen this 3-game wild card series like play out over any large sample size yet. So, like, before we clamor for the next change to the wild card series, let's just let this play out a little bit, and we can go from there. Let's look at the Rangers O's. We'll just go series by series.
Yeah.
As we already mentioned, tough couple days for your favorite podcasters, Kyle and Nate. But even tougher couple days for the Baltimore Orioles, top seed in the American League. I, for one, will say I'm a little shocked. It's jarring to see a team like the O's dominate the way they did in the regular season.
Right.
Within 2 days of this series starting, be on the brink of elimination.
Really, really rough start.
And you can tell me if you feel a different way about it, but tell me your thoughts on this. My observation, my big takeaway was that you hear about the home field advantage of Camden Yards in the postseason, and you see that was it Delman Young clip from the last postseason they were in.
It was like 2013, 2014, something like that.
2015, somewhere in there. 2015, I believe. You see that, you're like, okay, it's there. Camden Yards can bring it come October. You just got to get them there. We saw it. You and I were there. You see the rally towels. You see the fans. You see the energy. You can feel the energy. You commented on multiple occasions. You could genuinely feel the floor beneath you shaking.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it resonated. I don't think there was a connect with the performance on the field. Like usually you see teams feed off of that energy a little better, but it's almost as if the Orioles for the last 2 days had been playing in a bubble.
Right.
And the fans in Camden Yards were very clearly outside of that bubble. I just never saw any connection. I never saw any momentum shift as a result of the energy in the ballpark, because it was there. All the tweets, all the posts were talking about Camden Yards is rocking, but it
didn't translate.
Nothing happened. And it certainly didn't affect the Rangers whatsoever. I mean, they were locked in from pitch one.
I hate to say it. I see a lot of inexperience. From everyone in that dugout, management, coaching, certain decisions. It's a young ball club, and I know that's not like a quantifiable thing, but it is a thing, and any former player will speak to that. Experience in those moments is a big deal, and they don't have that. They will. Obviously, this group is really good, and they're going to be around a long time, and this is just the beginning of their window. But I don't know, man. It seemed flat. It seemed like the smallest thing would take the wind out of the sails, and you could tell, like, just being in it, like the crowd definitely tried. Like they did their best to, like, hey, like, come on, like, let's go, let's get it going. And it never really showed up. I mean, even
in the ninth of game 2 last night, when you go into it down 6,
right?
They're still, I mean, we're out there on Utah Street for like the second half of game 2.
Yeah.
And you've got
vibes were high.
I mean, they couldn't have been higher. I gotta tip my cap to O's fans. Like and it wasn't just Utah, it was all around the ballpark.
Yeah.
And I think it's tough when you drop game 1 and you go into game 2 with Grayson Rodriguez, hoping for the better side of Grayson Rodriguez that you've seen at times throughout this season. But when Grayson Rodriguez of old, and I say of old, I just mean early, what we saw early with Grayson Rodriguez, when you get that version, you want to talk about taking the wind out of the sails, because that place became deflated. He gives up.
Also, I mean, they took a quick lead.
Runs.
took a quick lead. They put up 2 in the first.
And that speaks to the inexperience, because you put up 2 in the first and then
got to respond
right away in the top of the second. You get the Rangers putting up a 5 spot. You just can't have that.
I don't, forgive me, because like I feel like my memory at games is always way worse than when I'm watching on TV. Was it the second inning where it was that little dribbler up the line and Grayson just like didn't get rid of the ball and just kind of like popped it over?
Yeah, dude. I'm pretty sure that was that inning, because I think that's when the meltdown started happening. That was really bizarre. Just things like that.
Just certain stuff. Like you'd like to see, and it was Hayes at first, right? Or no, Mountcastle. Mountcastle. Mountcastle's at first, and it's like you'd like to see him choose a side and just let Grayson, just chuck it. You know what I mean? Like that, we work on that all the way down to like, Little League. It's like choose a side, foul territory or inside, and, square up and let whether it's your catcher or your pitcher throwing from that angle, let them have a wide target. You just didn't really see it, and you just kind of like floated it over him. Just strange stuff. Overall, I will say chalk it up to brilliance. I'll go to that word for what Bochy was doing of starting the series with 2 lefties and really changing the lineup for the Orioles. And, obviously with Mount Baltimore and left, it's like, let's play to that then. And it's almost like it just discovered like this new Achilles heel of the Orioles that I don't think anyone really thought about before. Because Heaney looked good. Heaney looked good, dude. And obviously Jordan Montgomery, having a huge lead early. He had a 7-run lead by the third. So
yeah,
allowed to do your thing there.
His day was better than what the stat line shows, because at that point they just let it eat for a little longer than probably he would have gone had the O's
getting that lineup switched around, man, just shaking things up. Look, Bochy is freaking nuts. I think we saw a stat. I don't know if we read this off on the last episode, but it was some stat that popped up that Bochy has won like 11 of his last 12 postseason series, something like that. 12 of his last 13. It was right there in that neighborhood. And that's just the Hall of Fame experience. And you have a roster of guys that have been there before, guys that are just going to find a way to get it done. And yeah, you have youth. For sure, you have youth on that roster. But like Seager leading the charge and just being the stud that he is, and even like Mitch Garver, you know what I mean? Like stepping in and playing that role. I don't even know what Robbie Grossman did, but like being put in the 3 hole was a little weird. But either way, like you have these group of veterans that are helping kind of take that pressure off of the younger guys. The Orioles don't really have that. When you look at veterans that have postseason experience, you have like Aaron Hicks, who had a good day, but even he was the reason. I think he admitted that he missed a hit and run on
game 1,
Saturday's game, where Gunnar got thrown out at second. So you don't have like these. You almost got to have your stars with postseason experience to settle things down. So I hate to say it. I just don't see it, dude. I don't see the Orioles having what it takes. You have Eovaldi tomorrow. I'm assuming Dean Kramer's going out for them, so it's like I don't know.
Kramer, Eovaldi. And look, it's not, and I'm with you. I don't see it. And we caught up with Ryan after the game last night. I asked him, I was like, dude, straight up, do you see this turning around? And being the Oriole mind that he is, like he was able to provide some ways out, if you will, for the team to maybe survive and advance. But I think if you're just objectively looking at this, you can recognize that this Orioles team that we saw the last 2 days was not the Orioles team we saw during the regular season. No. And so for us to sit here and say, we just don't see it, it's not because we don't believe in the Orioles that we saw prior to this series. This doesn't even resemble the Orioles team that we saw this year. I don't know who this is, but this is not them. Like just getting taken out to the barn both games. It's just that's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. At home,
both games.
For sure. It is tough. And you got to give credit to this Rangers offense. This lineup is just relentless. Like this lineup is insane. When Mitch Garver is leading the charge, it's like no offense against him, but like that's not the name you think of when you're putting this lineup together, So these guys are just freaking deep. And 2 at home where they've been really good at home. I just I don't see it.
And when you have a guy like Mitch Garver hitting a grand slam to give your team the boost it needs in a game 2 on the road, I guess it's safe to say you can chalk it up to that for them being bumped to now favorites to win the World Series.
Yeah,
I saw those odds updated today. I guess that's what happens when you go and take 2 from the O's, punch them in the mouth like that. Twins Astros.
Yeah, I mean
a little sluggish in a different way. Like you go out, you get game 1, but it's behind the efforts of Justin Verlander, which even if you did come out of the gates a little slow, I think a guy like Verlander can veil that a little bit. But he was wonderful. 6 innings, 4 hits, a shutout ball, 6 Ks. You have Yordan Alvarez going deep twice in game 1. The conversation, I keep going back to the sluggishness element. The Astros, for whatever reason, love game 1 of the division series. They've now won 10 of those in a row.
Wow.
So the momentum of that narrative certainly helped them in game 1, along with the efforts of Verlander. But game 2, not the same story. Pablo Lopez, brilliant. 7 deep, 6 hits, no earned runs, 7 Ks, was excellent. And as we mentioned, Framber Valdez, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, and 5 Ks. Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
Might have heard of him. Former Astro. 3 for 4, 3 ribbies. He's having himself a series.
To me, I think the biggest thing is that 7th inning of game 1, where Polanco and Royce Lewis go yaya. And even if, like, obviously you take the L there, but like that, it's just like I hate to say like a consolation prize in a loss, but it is something of like, all right, like we can stay with this team. Like we can hang. We've got a lineup that can hang. So even losing that, I think that really just carried over. It had to have. To Sunday.
I mean, credit to the Twins, man. Like I just feel like the odds have been stacked against them. Not only this year, you talk about the drought. You go back to the drought. That narrative has stuck with them this year, and they were able to kind of shake that monkey off a little bit with the wild card series. But I can't imagine the words are all too kind in Minnesota after a game 1 loss in Houston. I'm sure that narrative picks right back up where it left off after securing the wild card series. They go, okay, well, this is the same old Twins team, going to be right back home where they belong. And you have a choice if you're Minnesota. You can either kind of roll over to that, or you can bounce back the way they did. And they went out and I mean, it wasn't, I don't want to say a signature win, but like that's about as much of a momentum shifter as you can have in a game too.
I mean, look, we can all say it. Like, I think we can all admit it. This is probably the least attractive matchup of all the division series. And I think it's probably because a lot of us, like, just being baseball fans that maybe not totally tapped in, but enough to be aware that, like, the Astros at home this time of year for the last chunk of years, they've got this. This was best case scenario. For the Twins to go down into Houston and take at least one, this is huge. And I'm not going to sit here and say that like Minnesota and Target Field is like this super big home field advantage situation. But again, it's like this has got to be a little bit of like, hey, we can hang with these guys. And I can't stand him. Everyone knows I do not like Correa. There's a lot of people that feel this way, but you can't help but recognize the fact that he has to be the one that's voicing that same message. We're good. We can hang. Trust me. Like, we're going to be all right. He's making crazy plays in the infield. Clutch knocks. I mean, he's like, you got to give him credit. You got to give him credit.
That's all they talk about on the, or that's all they have talked about on these broadcasts this postseason is just the impact that he's had in that clubhouse. And it's cliche, sure, but you got to imagine, at least in this series.
It is cliche, but that's right. Exactly. This series specifically, it's never meant as much as it does when you say it this way. You know what I mean? Like a guy coming from success with that organization in that ballpark, coming over and saying, hey, this is how we do it. We can do it. It's not that cliche because this is big time.
I really hope. Do you see where this might be going? I hope it doesn't happen. Do you see where this is going?
Momentum shifting. We're going to become Twins fans and Correa fans.
I was going to say this takes the Machado route.
I don't think it will.
The Machado trajectory.
I don't think it can for me, but
okay.
I can at least respect it. You know what I mean? Like I can respect it. It's the same for me. Like you can rattle off a ton of Red Sox players from our childhood that I absolutely hated, but I can respect. It's kind of one of those for me. They're playing good ball, man.
Hey, and look, hand up. That's become my new favorite phrase on this show. It's all about accountability. Hand up. We rag on Target Field all the time, but as we mentioned with the Coles that Tropicana Field was dragged over for their horrendous showing.
Yeah, Target's going to be stacked.
For their games that started, I think 38 minutes later, they showed out for the wild card series.
But it's going to be nuts tomorrow.
Like, something must have clicked with the Twins fans. I don't know if it's always been this way. I doubt it's been this way. But, maybe there's been a shift in the water a little bit out there. We shall see. Game 3, Christian Javier versus Sonny Gray. That's shaping up to be a decent showdown. So, I mean, I don't know, man. What do you think? Back in Minnesota, I'm starting to and we were joking about it playing MVP about, who do you want to take? You want to take road or home? Like you take the pick, whatever. And I was like, jokingly, I was like, well, I'll take road. You get on the board first. In a similar philosophy, like in one regard, you like having home field first. You kind of have the opportunity to snag a dub or two at home against better odds, I should say. But I tell you what, if you're a road team in these series, especially a short series like this, you can split as the Twins have done.
It's huge.
You go back home. I like that position
I do too.
far better than anything that you could offer me up front. If you can just push it, with a split,
it's kind of like in football when you kick off and you play defense instead of electing to return and getting on offense first. I mean, this is like halftime, and
you held your own.
You held your own, and you get the ball back. It's like that. It's impressive what some of these teams are doing. So, and I mean, if I don't know, obviously if they're Rangers, that's like the dream scenario to take both. But overall, I mean, these teams have got to be happy with a split. So I don't know, man. Sonny Gray, he's looked good. He's looked real good. Bigger ballpark, so
I like the Twins going up 2-1 in the series. I do.
think I do too.
I really do. And look, I'll acknowledge you could argue that I'm flipping camps here on the Twins, just seemingly on the fly as this series progresses, and there may be an element to that, but
I think there's also an element that this series can't go back to Houston. I don't think you can let this go 5. If you're the Twins, you need to take these 2.
Got to do it. Phillies Braves.
This freaking matchup is not disappointing.
Has not disappointed. Has lived up to the expectation and then some, dude. Game 1, you have the best offense in baseball that we've seen in years. Possibly, dare I say decades.
Yeah.
Getting shut out in game 1. Continuing that narrative, or I should say providing evidence for the narrative of the first round by sluggishness.
Yeah.
Braves fans looking around going, well, this was not on our bingo card. Getting shut out in game 1. Game 2, however, the one that just wrapped up,
what a finish. What a back and forth. I mean, it looked like the Phillies were it looked like they were coming down and just taking the first 2 right away. Wheeler had a no-hitter through 4, didn't he?
4 or 5, yeah. You have the Braves 15 innings into this series. Was it 14? 15 innings into the series. Shut out. And you hear it on the broadcast, them talking about, Braves are 15 outs away from taking this back 2-0. They're 12 outs away from taking this back 2-0. 9 outs. And you're going, it's a possibility, but it's also the Braves. I was even thinking that, I'm just sitting there watching this play out, and I'm like, not that I didn't feel good about it, but I'm also just like, let's not chalk this up just
right. Yeah, for sure.
Let's sit tight. And you got Travis d'Arnaud 2-run bomb to cut the deficit 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Following inning, bottom of the 8th, Austin Riley 2-run home run to take the lead 5-4. Really spoiling Wheeler's day. The guy was dealing.
I'm going to be honest. It may not have, it kind of was the difference, but a couple un-Trey Turner-like plays occurring that were pretty ugly defensively.
Can I just comment on the second one?
The second one,
the one where the ball gets away.
Not good.
No, but I didn't even think anything of it when I'm sitting there watching it live, and I see the ball get away from him. How many times have we seen that happen when a ball comes in from the outfield and it kind of scoots by a little bit or it pops up, and there's usually just a guy there, or the runner on third isn't paying attention, or
but that guy's never. It's not Acuna. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
That guy's the most aggressive base runner in the league. So I hated it because you and I both played shortstop, and you know how lazy he was to unnecessarily backhand a short hop. How many times do we have a ball coming in from the outfield where play is done, and all you have to do is go down on a knee, and if you take it off the chest, like whatever, the play's done. For that to happen, it woke up the crowd to get that first run. And when we talked about how the Baltimore crowd didn't really translate over to the Oriole offense, it was the opposite here. It woke the crowd up, it got things going again, and then all of a sudden you watch the Braves take advantage and the momentum shifted. And it was I think that's going to bug him. It would bug me. It would bug me. And that's a 1-run ball game of how it finished anyway. And it's just a simple, really small thing. And it wasn't even like a batted ball. I mean, I can understand, any shortstop can understand just the routine ball that you muff. And it's like, you make that play 99 times out of 100. That happens occasionally. This one specifically, an unnecessary short hop. You backhand it for no reason. It's just, I don't know. Like, to me, if I'm Castellanos, I don't even really feel that bad about the throw. If I'm Trey Turner, just like just a lazy mistake. Just a lazy mistake. And this is what good ball clubs do. You gave the Braves an inch, and they took a mile. You gave them the smallest crack, and they took advantage of it. And I don't remember exactly what occurred in sequence after that, but I don't know how many more pitches Wheeler needed to throw after that. I don't know what this, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a thing that can snowball, and just for something so small, and that's a brain fart. That's an easy, like, lazy mistake. So that would bug me for a bit. But I'm not taking that away. I'm not giving the Braves win credit to that play specifically. I mean, this team can mash, dude. They can mash.
Just of all the names in that lineup, though, you just don't see Travis d'Arnaud being the guy to put up the crooked number. I mean, but that's what that lineup does.
And this is what postseason baseball brings, though. It brings that name that, I mean, you just don't expect.
And then Austin Riley, as I mentioned, 2-run bomb to take the lead. That place came unglued in the bottom of the 8th. And then the play we haven't even mentioned yet. To end the game, you have Castellanos, the aforementioned Castellanos, drives a ball to right center. There's probably a percentage of people watching that game who thought it was out. I think I was maybe one of them. I didn't think it was a surefire tank, but I thought it'd
be off the wall at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this thing could carry out of here. But then you have Michael Harris just with the play of the game, the play possibly of the series, of the postseason even. Makes a snag, throws it back in, misses. Seems like it squirts by the infield a little bit. Then you have Austin Riley, very Jeter-esque, coming out of nowhere, snags it.
Dude, you took it right out of my mouth. Very much so.
And nails Harper first.
Very much so. Like, if the Braves come around and end up winning this series or the World Series, it could go down as something similar. I mean, it is a little bit more of his responsibility to be where he was. But I mean, he just threw a freaking seed over to first base, an absolute seed.
Yeah, in motion. Like, that's not an easy thing to do.
Ball coming that way from the outfield, and then to turn and pop to first. It's just different. It's weird. Heck of a play. And I think we were texting back and forth with the group a little bit. I don't at all hate what Harper did. I'm A-okay with where he was. I'm A-okay with him taking off. I mean, you smell blood in the water there, and you're like, I can score from first here and tie this game up.
It's not just that. It's the awareness to recognize the situation of the game. And look, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, player A was aware of this, but not aware of that. We don't know where his head was at. We don't know if it was more reactionary. We don't know if Harper was actually fully aware of the situation. We'd like to think so because his baseball IQ is pretty high.
Yeah.
But, you get caught up in a moment like that towards the end of the game. You get caught up in the energy of the crowd. It would be easy, I would imagine, to maybe overlook some of those smaller details. But to the people that are saying terrible base running, unforgivable, what did you want him to do?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are, and I'm not sitting here trying to perch myself up or
because if he doesn't score on that,
the same for you.
If he doesn't score on that, and then next thing you know, it's back-to-back Ks with a man on second and third or something. You know what I mean? Like, and the game ends that way. Like, you could have said, hey, he should have just, I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying.
It took two perfect plays to get him.
Correct. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to perch myself up here. But I feel like there's a lot of people just immediately following the game, really exposing themselves as to the little that they understand about base running. Because if you're sitting there saying just terrible base running, okay, then explain why. I don't think a lot of people saying that it was terrible base running could explain why.
Right.
If you think it's terrible base running, but you're open to the realization that, like, it looked bad on the surface, but like if you maybe zoom out a little bit, see it the way everything played out, it may have not been as bad as we thought. Okay, I can hear that case, but like to just come out and blatantly say, "Oh, terrible base running." Okay,
yeah.
What was he supposed to do?
Yeah, I don't agree.
You assume just about anybody except Michael Harris and maybe a couple others aren't getting to that ball.
Right.
And I understand it was Michael Harris, but I think just reactionary, you assume that ball is getting down, and with, I believe, 1 out in the ninth, you have to score there, because if not, if you're playing cautious, you're looking at 2 outs, possibly not in scoring position based on how you respond. Not a good look. So
I don't hate the risk at all. Hey, okay with it. Heck of a matchup right now, though. Exactly what we were hoping for, but it's back to the bank. Philly's got to feel good, no matter how this one ended, no matter how you may feel. You got to feel good right now. Again, it's the best team in baseball, and you just took one of them going back home.
I mean, the travel day could not have come at a better time, though, for the Phillies to soften this blow a little bit.
Right.
Because if
slow the momentum down a little bit.
Yeah, if you had to play tomorrow after this, that's a tougher bounce back. That's a taller ask, but you get a little bit of a break to reset, recollect, go back home to where you just win baseball games. That's what you do there. They're in good shape. I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Do it. Can we assume those starters?
Aaron Nola is going for Philly.
Yeah.
I have yet to see a starter announced for the Braves.
All right.
And lastly here, as game 2 is nearing its end, D-backs Dodgers, game 1, my goodness.
Wow.
I don't understand. This is just one of those phenomenons I just don't understand. And it's a phenomenon. It's not as simple as just saying, well, Clayton Kershaw just sucks in the postseason. Like, no, we've seen moments of brilliance.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen his career in the regular season. We don't even need to talk about that. But we've seen moments of brilliance in the postseason with him, albeit like very few. We've seen some. So you know it's there, and it's not just this like case of the yips or whatever it may be, just a mental block. I truly don't think it's that. It's just very strange to have a guy so dominant, like Kershaw, struggle the way he does when it gets to October. I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, what did they? It was 8 hits in the first inning, something like that. I mean,
was it 6? Didn't make it out of the first. I think did he get one out? Was it 6 runs?
I think he got one out.
I mean, you could look at that though, and Dodgers fans, tell me if I'm wrong here, but do you look at and I know game 2 is still underway and it's not looking great right now. At the moment, it's 4-2 in the 7th.
One out, 6 hits, 6 earned runs.
Yeah. So kind of playing hindsight here, but let's just pretend game 2 hasn't happened yet. If you're looking at game 1 and you see Kershaw do what he does and you drop game 1, are you in a weird way kind of okay with that? Like, I know I just got done saying what I did about Kershaw. Like, it's there, but like if a guy that you have going for you is going to drop the game, would you be more okay if it was Kershaw doing what he did because of his history? Like, is that easier to digest as a Dodgers fan? I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. It sucks either way, going out and dropping a game 11-2, but I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I'm just trying to find the silver lining for Dodgers fans, especially if they go on to drop game 2, which it's looking like that might be the case.
Yeah, currently 4-2, bottom 7 right now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's same thing. It's just like this sleepwalking through game 1 with these teams with a bye. And the Diamondbacks are looking like the Phillies of last year. You know, just hot, coming out with something to prove. The lineup just looks really, really good. Really good. Getting production from everybody. So I'm here for it. I like it. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind Diamondbacks Phillies NLCS. I mean, fire me up there. That sounds sick. I don't know. Freddie Freeman just fouled the ball off his knee, though.
We would potentially go from rooting for that for a wild card matchup to possibly the NLCS.
That'd be so weird, yeah.
Just to leapfrog the NLDS straight to the NLCS. How about that? I mean, if we're being honest, though, of all of the hitting the road matchups for these teams, for these current home teams going to the new ballpark, you got to think Chase Field would be the easiest to overcome. Like if you're the Dodgers, especially with that depth, with that experience, you gotta think they'd be okay.
I don't know, man. Some fans out here that are hungry. The Cardinals are atrocious, so maybe some people ready for it. It's hard to say. I'd love to see purple and teal busted out. I'd love to see it. Oof, Freddie just rolled into a double play.
Do you think they would do that? Do you think they'd bust out the teal and purple?
I think so, dude. Half these guys are rocking it on their sleeves and cleats. Like, it's a lot of teal going on, a lot of purple. I'm here for it, dude. D-backs just, they look very fundamental. And I don't think it's a lineup that you would expect a ton of production from. They just look fundamentally sound. Very good defense. We talked about very good base running. It's just a team that's not going to beat themselves.
I like that. That's what matters most in the postseason.
Play
a
clean.
Team that's not going to beat themselves.
Play clean. I don't know, though. Dodgers look kind of flat, dude. This Dodger crowd looks...
They're out of it.
Yeah.
Like the 75% that's there, the 25% are still sitting in traffic trying to get into the ballpark.
Yeah, it's the 7th. Still trying to find a parking spot.
Tough, dude. Tough. Dodger fans catching strays.
Here's one thing, though. If it does... when it comes back here to Chase, you will see a lot of Dodger fans. It will not just be total red. I can promise you that there is going to be a very big chunk of Dodger fans there. So
they travel well.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, but yeah.
On to the 8th in Game 2. So barring any major comeback, barring any scenario where the Dodgers decide to wake up, because they have, granted, it's a 2-run game in Game 2, but it's safe to say they've just generally looked flat. Gallen threw well tonight. Gotten a little bit of a jam there towards the end of his outing, but
this Dodger bullpen is taxed at this point, dude.
Yeah.
Back-to-back games. I think Bobby Miller came out in the 2nd or 3rd. It's not something this is something where, the hole is dug deep. Even if you manage to pull this series off, you're not well equipped for the NLCS, especially when it's going to be one of the 2 juggernauts of the Phillies or the Braves. Dodgers fans have got to be sweating right now.
Wrapping it up here, give me your outlook for these series. Do you see these teams that are down putting up a fight? You see teams finishing others off? Rangers, O's, how do you feel?
It's going to end in Texas. I think that's pretty secure.
Clean sweep?
It's hard to say no.
I'm going clean sweep.
I think it has to be. Eovaldi against Kramer, it's just at home, Rangers fans are going to be blowing that place up, dude. I'm telling you. I don't know. I can't see the O's getting a dub.
Eovaldi looked good last time out. I think he rides that into a solid outing.
Full rest to who, if they do sweep, that's a bunch of rest with momentum, with postseason experience. It's not like a bye situation. It's full rest. Correct. To get your rotation back in order, and facing probably a team that, either the Twins or the Astros are coming out of this bloody and beaten up.
Yep. Twins, Astros. How do you see it playing out?
I still think Stros.
I think they bring it back to Houston.
Yeah.
I see the Twins go up 2-1.
Yeah.
I see the Astros claw back, bring it back to Houston, then do what they have to do at home. Phillies, Braves.
Phillies in 4. That's what we predicted. We got to stay with that.
Even with what you've seen the last 2 days or last 2 games?
Yep.
Phillies in 4. So you think
I think they take both.
You think we've seen the last game at Truist this year?
I think so. Just for prediction purposes, yeah.
All right.
Can't bail now. It's just only been a couple days.
I'm giving you the pass to update it.
Nah.
All right, fair enough. And D-backs, Dodgers. Assuming the D-backs close this out, give us a little bit of grace here if something just wild happens, but we gotta do what we have to do. So we made it. We stretched this out as long as we could. But
I'm jumping ship. Give me D-backs sweep.
D-backs sweep.
Dodgers pitching is just in shambles at this point.
I think
dude.
Just hearing you break that particular series down, I think you just talked yourself into that.
I think I did too.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think I did.
I'll go D-backs in 4.
All right.
If the D-back, like I said, if they go up 2-0, I'll give the Dodgers game 3, but I think a D-backs finish it at home. That's what I got. I know you're wiped, dude.
I'm toast. Yeah.
Time for you to get to bed. Let's get out of here. You got anything else?
Negative. Buckle up. Overall, this postseason's been awesome. This has been great. It's only just getting more and more intense, too. I can tell. Every game you watch just over and over again, it just gets more and more intense. So
we're starting to weed out the teams that clearly just don't belong here.
Yeah.
And I think we're really seeing the teams. And common sense would tell you that. Like, we're seeing the teams that belong here. But it's just the way that these teams are pushing their way to the top. It just seems like we're gearing up for some good LCSs. I really think it's going to be.
I agree.
Very good baseball.
I agree. Sweet. Let's have a good week, folks. Don't go chasing curveballs.
We love you all, and as always, we're looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.